Good afternoon, everybody. It's the dog with the H. Weber with another edition of Weber This Week. It's the 22nd of October. Hard to believe. It's almost Thanksgiving in about a month. Are you serious? Well, I got a couple of my pals back in the town. It's Kyle Black and Mark Benjamin representing Seneca Meadows. And Seneca Meadows, and let's say, versus the town board of Seneca Falls, it seems like an ongoing soap opera. We're going to get Kyle's opinions and Mark's opinion on what's going to take place and where do we go from here. Welcome to Weber This Week. Well, a pleasant good afternoon, everybody. It's the dog with you on a beautiful, October 22nd, a little chilly. I was telling Kyle and Mark Benjamin before we went on the air that the forecast looks like we're going to talk mid-40s, low 40s, high 40s. Kyle, not exactly 90, but it is what it is, right?
That's where it falls here, for sure.
It's hard to believe we're talking, a couple months from Christmas and a month away from Thanksgiving. As I get older, and you guys will get to 73 and a half sometime, it's amazing how fast time flies. Well, Kyle Black, and of course, it's no secret, Kyle and Mark have been on, obviously representing Seneca Meadows, and I don't need to tell you, the viewer, that if you pick up a newspaper any night of the week or follow the news media, Kyle and according to Local Law 3 indicates that Seneca Meadows needs to move away in 2025. Kyle and his team and his management team came up with a nice offer, which was a counteroffer to extend their stay to 2037, made a very, very financial package. But then, Kyle, something surprisingly did not surprise me anyways. It looked like the board now is set up where they weren't overly thrilled with the offer, and I'm guessing your opinion on your reaction to the town board's present setting that indicates they're not really concerned or interested in taking that phenomenal package you offered them. Give me some thoughts on it. What was you thinking about when you saw the board now, the three board members, which are certainly looking to get Seneca Meadows ending in 2025, saying they don't want the money, they'd rather have you guys leave in 2025. What's your thought process? It's got to be sort of painstaking to feel that all that you guys have offered is something that some of those board members are not interested in.
Yeah, Harold, and let's not forget, we've had a host community agreement with Seneca Falls since 1999 that has brought north of $55 million of goodwill and revenue to this town that's continued to support this town from those years of 1999 to 2018. Mm-hmm. And frankly, we all know what's happened around us in those many years. Mm-hmm. We've lost a lot of businesses. Some businesses have come back in, more on the hospitality side, less on the manufacturing and that side of the fence. And it's just unfortunate that the town board reversed their stance on this. Mm-hmm. This has been an ongoing process with the town board. The town board has known about these negotiations. They actually put forth the request to the attorneys to engage in these conversations. So incorrectly stated in some of the media in the last couple of weeks, this board has been right. Part of this process, and leading up till that board meeting, the first Tuesday in October, all indications were that the majority of the board was online with this. These requests that were made, they were requests made by the board, not requests made by us. So it's just unfortunate because this is an unprecedented package, it's an unprecedented offer. It's $100 million over the next 18, 19 years. It's an unprecedented amount of money that could do a lot of great things above and beyond the great things it's already doing for the town of Seneca Falls.
Well, I guess, my viewpoint in reading about the offer and understanding about what your company has offered to remain until 2037 would certainly remove any doubt about subsidizing a police department that we have and the rec center and all the different things that are budget items. And by the way, Mark and Kyle, we're going to be doing the show to 3:25 today. Those guys, when we do our commercial break, we're going to take it later than normal. We're going to shut off at 3:25, do our breaks. Those guys are going to head to the town board budget meeting. I guess where I was coming from, 2037, the theory being is, what was that number? I mean, what was that year designated? Why 2037? Was that something you guys felt you could stay longer and maintain what you have out there? What's the rhyme of the 2037?
The simple rhyme and reason of 2037, frankly, revolves around filling the middle of the horseshoe that we're constructing now.
Okay.
The key feature for this whole thing is this is not an expansion. Mm-hmm. This is just a filling of existing landfill airspace. There's no additional zoning. There's no wetland taking. There's no infrastructure moving. There's none of that. We already have great infrastructure and great people managing that infrastructure for the modern day safe landfill practices that we are partaking in every day. So it's baffling why the board would not want to look at that. Quite simply, we're calling it the valley infill. That's in essence what it is. It's filling the middle up of what's already there. So it's not any new airspace. We're not going across the road. We're not going north. We're not going south, east, west. We're staying where we are within the infrastructure that we have. We're actually adding to that infrastructure with new technology and new amendments. We've proven over the course of the last 3 or 4 years that we will take on any issues that we have, like our odor issues, and we'll take them on head on and we'll win. Our odors are way down, our complaints are way down, and we continue to feel that we're doing everything the legal proper way, as shown by our DEC monitor being there every day, our meetings with the DEC, our meetings with the town. Mark and I go to a lot of the board meetings. We're there. We're there for questions. We don't get the questions, but we hear all the rhetoric and we hear all the scare tactics and the what ifs, but there's no facts based on any of it.
Well, Mark Benjamin and Kyle Black, Seneca Meadows, coming in to join the Weber. We haven't been on the show in several months. We wanted to have them come back, as obviously there's a lot to talk about here. I think if you look at the present board structure, it's certainly no secret that everybody has tipped their hand and playing poker. You kind of know when somebody's got 4 aces or a pair of deuces. It does appear that the board is set up whereas a Peretta and a DeLalis and an Avery are not in favor of extending it. It does appear, to me anyways, Greg Lazaro and Lou Farrar are more amenable to accept the fact that they would consider taking the package. So given the fact that as you see the board as it's presently, and again, let's not forget 2025 is still 6 years away, or 7 years away. We have elections coming up in years, so you don't know what's going to progress there, who's going to rerun, who's not going to run. To me, anyways, it looks like, and what really triggered my point of interest on this, and that's why I had you come back, is when the board was presented the idea of deciding on your package, then I think it was the next meeting, the Averys and the DeLalises and the Perettas, because now they have a 3-2 advantage, urged their attorney and their outside consultant to move to protect local law 3. Did that surprise you, or did you expect that, knowing that the board layout was?
That did surprise me, because all indications were that the majority of the board was willing to take this amendment, which frankly the 2 key features of this amendment was the date. They wanted they wanted an end date. We gave them an end date. We said we will not accept solid waste after 2037. It's right in the agreement. They also asked for a lot of money, and we offered a lot of money, and that offer is still technically on the table now. However, all indications are that there's a special meeting coming up this Friday that the board will potentially move to officially take that stance, because everything up till this point has been conjecture and nothing official that I know of has been done in the public eye, where this board has came out publicly and answered to the taxpayers as to why they're not taking this great deal, and more importantly, what are they going to do? Because in my view, this is marching right towards 2025, full steam ahead, with nothing. So this deal may never come back in the form that it was. which is very unfortunate because, and the other thing that proves to me that it was ready to go, they had resolutions ready to go that were actually printed and on this media's website. Those were the actual documents that were ready to go. You don't prepare those documents. You don't spend thousands of dollars with lawyers preparing those documents unless you think the board is ready to go. So I was kind of shocked by the events that happened that night at the town board meeting and that they reversed their stance. Now, that said, there's still time out there. They have not finished this year's budget. They are using a significant amount of our money in this year's budget, like they didn't do last year, but then they turn around and spend it on infrastructure and things that were duly needed. So for board members to say we raise taxes and we don't need the landfill money, well, that's just not true, because they did use hundreds of thousands and millions of dollars of it for infrastructure improvement this year. So,
I guess, Mark, you can chime in. I guess where I walk around to a bar or to a restaurant and I hear the arguments, Seneca Meadows needs to leave in 2025. I don't know about that. I think the money would be great, keep taxes down, allow us to, furnish revenue for good things in our town, allow us to be able to spend the money and not worry about it for a long period of time to 2037. It's a long time away. But I'm also asked the question, why not referendum? Why not put the vote up to the residents of the town of Seneca Falls? Because from what I understand, we have a lot of senior citizens, and I'm one of them, but it's interesting to note, if you referendum, does Seneca Meadows be allowed to stay to 2037? And with the package that's being offered, it'd be interesting. A lot of people are speculating that a lot of people, when they go in that booth to vote, that they would vote in favor of the package because of the fact that they would find their taxes being reasonable and they would be able to service the rec center and the police department, et cetera, et cetera. Is that a thought process? I don't know how that happens. Does the board have to maybe make that motion to allow referendum? I'm not sure how referendum is brought to the table. But I think my point is, if we did a referendum in the town of Seneca Falls, and it's speculation on my part, how the vote would be, but I think people would be surprised that people may come out and speak against Seneca Meadows, but when it comes down to putting a vote into the ballot box relative to taking those financial rewards, people might be surprised.
Yeah, and I think the night of that meeting, everything I heard, the night of the October 4th, I believe it was, town board meeting, that rumor went around like wildfire in that meeting, and that's what a lot of people said. Let's let the people vote. I don't believe legally they could have a referendum on this subject. However, there's been discussions of a potential straw vote and setting up a straw vote to let people have a say that traditionally aren't the type of people that want to go to board meetings or can go to board meetings and communicate with their elected officials. So that's a potential that's out there that maybe they could hear from the taxpayers of Seneca Falls and the business owners of Seneca Falls in that manner. At the end of the day, we are a law-abiding, well-run, tax-paying business, the biggest tax-paying business in this town. And it's baffling as to why, with all those things in place, that the town board would not want to take advantage of the great benefits that it can continue to reap from that. Well,
Mark Benjamin's with me, my good friend, and also in charge of community relations for the Seneca Meadows operation. And Mark and myself have been friends since he came on board. I think I met him a few years ago, right, Mark? We had some fun. Yeah, okay. Mark, you go to a lot of causes. I know your company supports a lot of causes, and that's what you're involved in with your company's approval on doing things for people. And it's got to make you feel good when you are able to create revenues from Seneca Meadows to help out different organizations that need help. I know that you find great pride, along with Kyle and the company, to do things. Talk a little bit about the feelings that you have regarding around going and doing things for people, because people are appreciative of the fact that you are subsidizing, helping out a lot of different things, not just one particular event a year. You do a lot of things for a lot of people.
Absolutely, Harold. Kyle and I have the privilege to go above and beyond and to go out and do these things. But it's not just the checks. What's really special is our whole team is involved. We get out and load food for the backpack program, right? Pretty soon, in a few weeks. I think you helped us out last December.
Right.
We built over 200 bikes for kids that wouldn't otherwise get a bike for Christmas. And we're going to be doing that again as part of our Christmas promise. So it's more than just the checks. We get to go out there and do those things that all these other folks are doing every day, and that's why they can't come to a board meeting and talk. They're out there doing these things. They've got soccer practices and lacrosse practices and football, right? So they're out there every day working hard to make ends meet for their family, and then when they're tired, they go out and coach, and they go to these games and participate in these programs, and we're happy to help where we can and do that.
And you do a good job. A lot of people I've talked to that you've helped out over the years, and it's been great. And a lot of companies aren't as loose with their finances that you guys supposedly are, and you continue to do things for good causes, and I know you will continue to do that. Kyle, I was thinking about it before you guys showed up today, thinking about topics to discuss. I guess where I'm coming from is, I'm hearing a lot about this Local Law 3, and the people who are against you continuing after 2025 say to me, oh, I don't care. They can get a team of lawyers. It doesn't make any difference because nobody can override Local Law 3. The people in their hometown here, they can make a decision, and there's no way you can override that. And I'm thinking out loud to myself, I'm thinking, and this is probably a dumb question, which I somehow have a lot in this show, but I got to ask Kyle, okay, let's hypothetically say you're gone in 2025. I guess, explain to me how landfills work. Is it true then that the state of New York going to get rid of all landfills in 2025? Or what, does the state have anything to say about this? I mean, you guys have got a legitimate business there. You guys have a great payroll there. You do a lot for the community, as Mark just pointed out. Can they say, okay, Seneca Meadows, you're gone, 2025, you got to leave the town of Seneca Falls? Do we not have landfills, or does the state have a say in this matter? How does that all work? Is it something that they have to determine? I mean, you got a good track record there, so I know Local Law 3 is important, don't get me wrong, but on your side of the coin, don't you have a right to maintain a business? And the state should have a determination of how many landfills. Are we going to get rid of all landfills in the state? That's where I'm confused about.
Yeah, well, again, Local Law 3,
right.
I'll start there. Local Law 3 was crafted after a local law, and there's only one other local law like this on the books for a small landfill down in the southern tier.
Okay.
So there's not a lot of history on this local law. So for anybody to say this thing's solid and going to hold up, there just isn't history to prove that. Mm-hmm. So that's not a fact.
Okay.
That's far from the facts. Whether it holds up or not, we'll see. If we go to litigation, we'll do what we have to do, and I'm sure the town will do what they have to do to defend it. Unfortunately, who wants to be in litigation?
Right.
Because no disrespect to the lawyers of the world, but they're the only ones that win. The lawyers are the only ones that win. I asked throughout this negotiation multiple times, why can't we just sit down in a room and talk this through? Because my understanding, the way the original host community agreement came about with the town of Seneca Falls way back in the late 90s was indeed that way. They went through multiple years of discourse, and the town didn't have any of the money, and financially it put an impact on them. And finally, a few of the town board members said enough's enough. No lawyers in the room. We're going to pick 5 people. You pick 5 people. And they went and they holed up into a room, and they came out of it with a deal, with something that now you can point to and say it was a benefit to both the business at Seneca Meadows and its employees and all the supporting businesses around it that have continued to legally be in business and pay their taxes and have homes and buy cars around here. And also, it was a great benefit to the town through the host community agreement, through the payments, through the donations, through the community support, through our membership in Rotary and all the great things that they do. All those things are what came about from that meeting. Unfortunately, this board wanted to go through lawyers, and this board seems to want to litigate as opposed to sit down and we're not all going to ever agree on everything, but can't we find some common ground somewhere? And frankly, we thought the common ground was this agreement. This agreement is basically what this board wanted. So for them to say they don't want it now, that leaves some very serious questions as to the integrity of this board.
And, it has to surprise you because I'm thinking, with the landfill, I mean, certainly if you guys are out of here in 2025, wouldn't the state of New York have something to say about that decision relative to if you've run a good business? And certainly based on what I've heard, you've always been on the up and up with the EPA and so forth, and I don't get the fact why all of a sudden they're just going to say, okay, fine, Seneca Meadows has to go, without them getting involved in it and saying, wait a minute, they're a viable business, they do a good job, and there's some issues with the odor, they're working on it, they've worked on it, they're continuing to work on it. So I guess I'm confused about, the old terminology, negotiate versus litigate. And I think, we probably need to get that done. And I feel like, there's a lot still to be done in this decision argument, but it makes no sense to me that I would love to see a referendum personally, because I think it would be kind of neat to see how the people in this town would react, knowing when they go in to make their vote, how impactful that would be.
Well, the state absolutely has a say. The state is tasked with managing the materials management in the state of New York. They were the ones that hatched the plan that went to more of a regional landfill approach, large regional approach instead of a landfill in everybody's backyard. That's what we had back in the 60s and 70s. Look what it got us. It got us Love Canal. It got us all these very bad things that we learned as a society don't work. Landfilling is the last in the food chain with which we want to manage solid waste. Everything we take has already been recycled. You want to talk about recycling for a minute. Look what's going on there. Recycling is going through the roof because it's been a fallacy for these last 10 years that our recycling's great. Look at everything's up. It's going to China. Well, what's going to China is contaminated materials, not recycled materials. So now that that's coming to roost, the need for landfills is going to become even more, because at the end of the day, the material's got to go somewhere.
Right.
The recycling has to happen to the extent that it can to keep the material in a circle. Those are all things our company's forefront with the state of New York, working with them as a large stakeholder. We have the largest MRF in New York State, in Albany, that recycles over 250,000 tons a year. We are trying our best to get diversion and get those things, but there's got to be an end use. True recycling means there's an end use. That's why recycling, they draw a circle. Anywhere the circle stops, that's not recycling. So what's the next best thing? Here. Landfilling is the next best thing. But doing it the proper way, as we've learned, has to be the right way to do it. And our 100 people, with great jobs, that do a great job taking care of it and live in this community and every day care about these things, care about what we do every day and do it right, that's what's key. That's what they worry about, their taxes too. Everybody's worried about taxes. Nobody wants taxes to go up. And Seneca Falls is in a unique situation of being able to lower taxes, not increase them. There isn't any other town in this area that has this potential.
Going to be interesting. Well, guys, it's almost 3:24. Certainly, I told you they're going to be leaving us at 3:25. They've got to get to a town hall budget meeting. And but Mark, I just want to say thank to you and Kyle for spending the 20-25 minutes we could give you today, because you guys want to get to that meeting, and I appreciate that. But we want to get you back down the road and do a catch-up meeting and find out where we are. Because, it's my belief that I've said it right along. I hope that clear minds can sit down at the table. I hope that can happen. I get a little nervous the way the board is set up right now. I hope that I'm wrong. I hope that they take it in account to the financial package, and it's going to do a lot of good things for the town of Seneca Falls. It's going to continue to make us prosperous and make us able to maintain what we have and maybe add some things to it. I just would hate to see us get into litigation, and I know you and your company are probably prepared to do that if you have to, but I don't think you want to. But I don't think this story is over by any means. And I thank you for coming in, Kyle, and I also thank you, Mark.
Well, thank you. And we definitely would much rather discuss and come to common ground with our neighbors and our town boards than we never want to litigate. And that's the key to this whole situation. We've never wanted to litigate. We've been forced to do it on every turn.
Right.
We didn't bring it upon ourselves.
Well, again, thank you guys. I know you got to get to that meeting.
Thank you, Harold. Please
thank
come
you
out and
very
build
much.
some bikes with us.
All right, we'll definitely come back and we'll get you back on. All right.
Thank you.
All right, Kyle Black and Mark Benjamin, Seneca Meadows, are heading off to a town board budget meeting, and we're going to take our commercial break abnormally a little bit later than normal. Yalaga Resort and Casino has something for everyone. 2,000 slot machines and 99 gaming tables. The Vine, featuring top national music and comedy acts. The dining options. The Great Portico by Fabio Viviani. The Farmers Market Buffet, the Social Cafe and Bar. And the 14,000 square foot European style spa. Del Lago offers massages, body treatments, and facials, plus a full service salon. Visit DelLagoResort.com for more information.
Cayuga Lake National Bank, offices in Union Springs and Aurora, a fine sponsor of this show for over 30 years. DA Liquor on Bridge Street in Seneca Falls. Amy Padula and her team will find the right spirit for you every time. When you stop in, tell Amy the dog sent you. The Omen Theater on William Street in Lyons. See what's playing this week at omentheater.com. Located off New York State Thruway Exit 41, the McGee Diner has earned their reputation as a popular family restaurant, serving country, fresh, home-cooked meals daily. Stop in for breakfast, lunch, or dinner, and check out their menu at mcgeediner.com. The Child Advocacy Center of the Finger Lakes is a child-friendly location where allegations of physical or sexual abuse are responded to by a multidisciplinary team of professionals. The team works together to conduct a thorough investigation and to provide necessary support services to children and their non-offending caregivers with a goal of minimizing further trauma to a child. Seneca Meadows is an award-winning company that has earned a reputation of going above and beyond to protect the environment and support their community. As an EPA inspector once said, their operation is head and shoulders above the rest. And the Newark Pilots of the Perfect Game Collegiate Baseball League, a minor league team with a major league ballpark. Season ticket packages available at NewarkPilots.com. And the Wilson Press in Seneca Falls. My good pal Rich Rickey and his team can handle all of your printing and mailing needs. Visit them online at wpress.com.
Welcome back, everybody. A recent article in the newspaper got me thinking, and I decided to make some comments regarding it. I am reminded of folks who can't see the trees in a forest. I do respect folks who serve on committees, don't get me wrong. It's time-consuming, it's sort of boring sometimes, and it's very tedious to sit at a meeting every few days. It gets kind of tiresome. I understand fully that in towns and villages, etc., decisions are made to call certain structures and certain locations historical. I get it. If said structure can be given some tender loving care, okay. Coat of paint, some new siding, not a big cost factor, go for it. However, and I repeat, however, if a structure like the Huntington Building, or as I like to call it, the Koch Car Building, on the corner of Fall Street and the Veterans Bridge, to me there is zero hope. It's old, it's ugly, and it would take millions of dollars to renovate. Have you seen that building? Stop by when you're in the area. You're going to get sick. Peter Koch, my longtime friend who's did an awful lot for this area, selling cars for decades. He asked for it to be demolished, as he has an offer from Circle K, who is willing to put a nice first-class convenience store / gas station there. The Heritage Preservation Commission said no. Really? Really? Now Peter is suing, taking it to court, and I don't blame him one bit. Attention goes out to the commission members. I, for one, am tired of seeing this ugly structure as I go by it some 20 times a day. A 30-mile wind could easily blow out the glass and maybe hurt somebody. A piece of the roof could easily fall down and hurt somebody who's walking by. If you don't believe me, stop by and take a look at that building. Walk around it. You'll be shocked. With your decision, Commission members, this means all of our out-of-town guests will drive, whether they're coming from Arkansas, Nebraska. We have a lot of people that come visit Seneca Falls. There's no way to hide that ugly building. And all those people in those cars coming to visit, whether it's the Wonderful Life or whether it's the National Women's Hall of Fame, you know what they're going to say to each other driving by? What the hell is that building? It is a no-brainer to me. It has to be demolished. When? Tomorrow. To engage in a legal battle will be very costly, and Peter Koch deserves better. He sold a zillion cars, had many employees, and all he wants for Christmas is to demolish his ancient, downtrodden, miserable, god-awful building. I urge our members of the board to convince this commission to allow this demolition. UGLY. It's ugly. You have no alibi. Please allow Koch to turn and tear down that building. It is an eyesore, and it's never going to get better. That's Weber This Week. Take care, everybody.